I know there are some shadows passing over the land of Israel, but shadow shows that you have a body. There is no shadow without a body. And I want to refer to the body and try to describe it. But before it, may I say that the Hebrew University is an exception to the rule. It's the first occasion that I can think of where a daughter gave birth to a mother. The university gave birth to the state of Israel. And maybe this should be the right order. Would it be differently? I'm afraid we would have too much politics and not enough academy. At least we keep a sense of proportion. And I think the call of the day is really a sense of proportion. Israel is a small country. As the French are saying, toute proportion gardée. We have to keep the sense of proportion. Small in size, geographically. We are going to become smaller once a Palestinian state will be formed, and we agree to it. We are small in numbers, 7.5 million. There is not more than a statistical error in the Chinese rate of birth annually. And yet, it's a unique border, a unique body, because it has a sense of proportion which is really most unusual. You know, in the 60 years, we went through 7 wars, outgunned, outnumbered, and we won all of them. It's a little bit disproportionate. But in spite of the wars, in spite of the wounds, in spite of the tension, there was one thing that Israel never gave up, and that is her democratic character. You can criticize rightly that we have too many parties, too many scandals, but one scandal is avoided. Never did a day of war postpone that day of freedom. Never did any event brought the idea that we have to give up democracy. And from that point of view, Israel is a small land and a great democracy. Then may I say, while being so much engaged in wars and intifadas and dangers and violence, another thing that Israel never gave up, and that is the desire for peace. With all the victories we have had, at least 7, the real victory that we are looking for did not yet arrive. The name of the victory is peace. And we should not stop struggling, fighting for peace. Even when times are difficult and it looks a little bit impossible, but all the time, winning or losing, peace is our main target, as it is today. And we are ready to pay the cost of peace, which is not simple, because there are risks with peace, not only with wars. Talking about the proportions of Israel, we decided to make a living out of our own travail, out of our own efforts, intellectual and physical. I learned economy with a great economist, the greatest economist in my eyes. His name was David Ben-Gurion. I used to be his deputy. I would come in and says, Ben-Gurion, let's do this and that. He says, how much does it cost? Very seriously. I told him $1 million. He says, $1 million? Where are we going to take $1 million? Okay. A week passed, I arrived again. I says, Ben-Gurion, let's do and that. And so on. He asked, how much will it cost? I told him, $50 million. Oh, he says, $50 million is nothing. Economy means if you need it, it's cheap. If you don't need it, it's expensive. And then the idea of Zionism, that's another ingredient of our proportion. The idea of Zionist was that the Jewish people will come back to their land and cultivate with their own hand the land. And you know, we took it seriously because apparently Israel became one of the leading agricultural countries on earth, maybe the best. Again, because we didn't have too much land, we didn't have water, and we didn't have experience. So we did something new. Generally, agriculture is a joint venture between the Lord in heaven and the farmer on earth. One of the partners is very moody, and the poor farmer can hardly meet his mishugayas. So we introduced another partner, and that is technology. The Israeli agriculture is rather high technology, more than cultivating the land. And while we were cultivating already the land with kibbutzim and moshavim, unique forms of life, the world has changed and disengaged herself from agriculture and went over to high-tech. Today we are making a living out of the high-tech. So again, we have had to change. I mean, leaving the agriculture in the hands of the scientists and going over to science. And then again, to my great surprise, Israel became a sort of a Silicon Valley in Jerusalem. And on 3 or 4 points, Israel is among the leading countries on earth. All of them are Jewish. Agriculture to produce food, medicine to keep alive, homeland security to defend the land. If I ask myself what is the greatest contribution of the Jewish people to history, I would say dissatisfaction. A real Jew cannot be satisfied without the risk of becoming un-Jewish. All the time. We don't agree with things as they are, as they're happening. And maybe this is the source of our renovation and ingenuity. When Einstein was asked what is his battle cry, he said chutzpah. Okay, we have it. If you don't know, let me state clearly that we have enough of it, which is, by the way, very difficult for the political life, but very great for the scientific engagement. Everybody here wants to change the world, part of the world, if possible immediately, if not in a day or two. But there is an impatience all the time. All this told, may I say, in my judgment, that the overriding story of Israel is neither security, nor democracy, nor peace, nor science, no economy, but a moral code. If we shall lose our moral guidance, we shall not be able to exist. Israel must keep her moral and moral obligation above any other consideration. Even that occasionally we are being pushed to corners, where the dilemma is not simple. But we would like to become a contributing people. We wouldn't like anybody to fight instead of us. We shall fight ourselves. We wouldn't like that anybody will work for us. We shall work ourselves. But what we really have to do is to teach our children to follow a great tradition where morality stood on top of all consideration. I think the greatest contribution of Jewish life in serious terms to the world is the 10 Commandments, all told 167 words that are the basis of Judaism, and today I believe the foundation of all Western civilization. You cannot change it, you cannot do without it, and this goes with learning and understanding, where the Hebrew University is really a leading strength to teach our children that all other necessities, important as they may be, should never overshadow our need to be what we're supposed to be, what we are not yet. But we shouldn't give up the desire to do so. I do believe that the shadows that we are now facing in Israel, we shall overcome them. It's unpleasant, but who said democracy is a pleasant thing? Democracy represents freedom, not convenience. So even if it's inconvenient, it's great to remain what we are. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to appreciate your support to the Hebrew University. It is a great institute. It must be as great as we can. It must be a leading light, not only before the state was created, but since our creation for the future. By helping the university, you're helping Israel, you're helping the Jewish life, you're helping peace and democracy, you're serving the future. Thank you.